Good morning, it's your favorite dumb blonde here. And personally, I can't wait to get my hands on some of that artificial intelligence so I can rise above the prejudice against blondes with big boobs. I follow the fake news and some of the real news, and the resistance to the U.S. spending all its money, oil, and cash and weapons on Ukraine is rising up. So now we have to take or to shunt our attention off that while they do something else, or get us to something else, is the flying saucer scare, the Tic Tacs, the balloons, the octagonal object. We're shooting them down. This is truly hilarious, because for the last 50 years the government has been saying it's not a flying saucer, it's a balloon. And now they've changed their tune where they're saying it's a balloon. Okay, it's a balloon. I saw a video about 2 weeks back where somebody was filming the beautiful forest and something flew by, literally like this, about maybe a half a mile in a few seconds, and it looked like a bird. And last night I saw a secret drone that's designed to look like a bird and to read on radar like a bird. So I think the new World War III will be fought with armed drones and cyber attacks on infrastructure and viruses. Great. I don't think I have anything new to say today. We're definitely in a scenario where the deep state, Illuminati, banks, people who've been ripping off the entire world for decades are very close to achieving their aims. They're also just as close to being exposed. And there was a meeting of those behind the plague, where the preeminent doctor who's been fighting viruses since AIDS came out said, "Isn't what you're doing kind of illegal?" And they said, by the time they figure it out, we'll be long gone. So any money that's being made illicitly or criminally, it's close to being exposed. But the microsecond that happens, these people will be on private jets to parts unknown with all that money. So there's no hope of arrests, trials, justice, jailing of these people. The best we can hope for is that it will just stop when they've got their ill-gotten gold. So a couple of things that underneath the zeitgeist. Fake news, false news, fake news, real news. The reason the U.S. is backing Ukraine is when the Soviet Union fell, the satellite states had nuclear weapons and missiles pointed at the West, and the U.S. said, you can't have these nuclear weapons, so how about if you give up your nuclear weapons and we will protect you from Russia? Not only with NATO, but personally from the US of A to you. We'll be your backup. And that was done. I don't know the name of the treaty, but it shouldn't be too hard to find. So the US is obligated by treaty to help Ukraine if it gets invaded by Russia. And it was invaded by Russia, so the US has to be there, no matter what the news may say. This is never talked about. Everything else is talked about, but nobody says, hey, remember that treaty? In exchange for nuclear weapons, they get our protection, and that's being exercised now. Second similar treaty is, it used to be, China used to be called Nationalist China, and it was overrun by communists, and is now CCP, Communist Party of China. Except for the island of Taiwan, and the government of nationalist China went to Taiwan and pointed guns back at the mainland and said, come here at your peril. And that's been going on for decades. And the US of A had also a treaty with nationalist China that if you're attacked by communism, we will come to your aid. So underneath the yakety, China, Nancy Pelosi, Taiwan, oh my God, is an actual treaty where the US is supposed to protect nationalist China from invasion by communist China. And that is being exercised. Thirdly, the USA Navy has been charged with keeping peace on the seas for a long time, for decades. This is the reason we can have international trade, and this is the reason why we can have just-in-time delivery on those container ships that are piled up 10 high, can come from Hong Kong and bring goods. Shipping is protected by the United States Navy under Vatican law of the sea. So that's being challenged right now. Maybe they're thinking maybe we should stop doing pretty expensive. So there is a lot of talk about United States of America's hegemony throughout the world, using the CIA to manipulate regime changes in other countries. And this is done under the excuse of we're trying to fight communism and support democracy, which they probably are. But in the meantime, the oligarch deep state people make sure that while this is happening, they're getting rich off of it. And the only example I remember is when Iraq fell. The soldiers who did the last final push into Baghdad, on the way out, saw Halliburton dropping oil pipe on the sands. They were going to build something. And that gentleman said it takes 3 months to get that pipe from America to Iraq by the time you do all the loading of the ship, the sailing of the ship, the unloading of the ship, and then getting these by truck to the desert sands. So this happened in the 2 weeks after the fall, so this must have been pre-planned. And that's one example. So whoever owns Halliburton Dick Cheney, knew what was going to happen. This is about oil. It's always about oil. These wars are about rich people getting a grip on the resources, and the common people pay the price with their blood. And if we had a real culture with real schools, which is completely possible, everyone would know this. They would study history and go, oh, history repeats because the same group of people want to maintain their wealth and their power. And it's done with war, which is a word that covers the reality of we're going to come and take your stuff, and if you try to stop us, we'll kill you. Which is very barbaric. So we have barbarism with a very, very thin veneer of civilization over top of it. And if there is a nuclear war, if there is a coronal mass ejection, if there is a very large meteor, civilization as we know it, with the just-in-time delivery, electricity, call 911 and an ambulance comes, will end. And it would take minimum to 10 years to recover some semblance of order. And again, people will be getting very, very rich off of that.